So we are officially being recorded. Welcome to the official book launch of accent-friendly pronunciation teaching. This is such a good book. And today you're going to have a glimpse of like how it started, why it started. You're going to get some freebies and we're prepared like a really exciting time. Right, Mark?
Yeah, that's about right. Thank you very much for organizing all of this, Taylor.
My pleasure.
Taylor down in Rio de Janeiro and me here in Chester, England, for my talk entitled Accent Friendly Pronunciation Teaching. So if you're interested in that, you've come to the right place. But accent friendly, what is that? Well, the opposite would be hostile to accent, which is sometimes the impression you get when you're talking about pronunciation teaching. People talk about trying to get rid of their accent or accent reduction, as if accent is some kind of problem. And in fact, this point of view is reinforced by the models that we use, models like General American or RP, received pronunciation, very strict, fixed models that we aim for, and anything that moves away from that model is supposedly wrong. And the world isn't like that. Everybody has an accent. The idea of accent reduction is a bit misleading because there is no such thing. There's no accent. So what is we're aiming for when we're teaching pronunciation? Well, some people want to sound like the Queen. But I would say that that's probably the minority. I could say the king nowadays, or any other public figure. Donald Trump, I don't know. But the fact is, probably you're not going to sound like anybody anyway. You're going to sound like yourself. That's the fact. And then there's the teacher. The teacher isn't going to sound like the Queen either, probably. You, the teacher, I guess you're all teachers here. You too have an accent, and your students basically are going to be exposed to your accent, whatever that is. Is it a problem? I say it can't be a problem. If English is indeed an international language, it has to be able to cope. We have to be able to tolerate the natural variability of it. And this goes for English perhaps more than any other language because of the global scope of it as a global lingua franca. So that's what I want to talk about today. How can we start teaching pronunciation in a way which is more tolerant, accepting of accent variation? How can we teach in pronunciation without fixing on one specific target model? It's a bit tricky. Now, having started, I'll just explain something about what we're looking at here. This is your Zoom screen. At the top right of your screen, you'll probably have the option to view, a button saying view. And that button you can see either the gallery, everybody in the room, or the speaker, in this case, me right now. So you can flip between those as you need to. If we get into some kind of discussion, it's obviously quite nice to be able to see the other people in the room as well, which is what I'll be doing. I'm going to show the information that I want to show right behind me here. I hope that's going to be okay. If doing this on a mobile phone, maybe it's going to be a bit small, but I haven't got lots and lots of packed slides with loads of detail, so I'm hoping it's going to be nice to do it this way, a bit more like in an actual classroom with your whiteboard behind you type thing. Let me begin with this proverb, I suppose you could call it. Proverb attributed to Lao Tzu or Lao Tzu, Chinese philosophy. A tree that cannot bend will break in the wind. I'm thinking here that when you're communicating in English or any other language, you must have some flexibility. Otherwise, the communication is going to break down. And I'm talking about both people, the speaker and the listener. They both need to be able to tolerate variability in the way that other people speak. Not everybody's going to speak the same way. That's just a fact of life. If you expect them to, then you're going to be like the tree which does not bend in the wind. You need to get this flexibility. How can we help our learners develop flexibility in this way? And how can we teach pronunciation in a flexible way, a variationist way? Well, we're going to have to make choices between what can bend and what can't, what cannot bend. Take this, for example. Here, the boy is worried. Is it often or is it often? And the girl, she says, it doesn't matter. And I think she's very wise to say that. This is a complete non-problem. It's strange, isn't it, how often our students confront us with non-problems like this. Of all of the things they could ask, they choose the thing that doesn't matter. Is it tomato or tomato? Which one's the correct one? Doesn't matter. There are things that matter and there are things that don't. I guess the boy is looking for knowledge, but what the girl is offering is wisdom. You can know what's right, but knowing whether or not it's important is the thing. And this particular example is an example of something that isn't really important. Let's try something that may be important. Here we go. My shoulder's in the way here. Okay, let's say you want to talk about something nice, like peace, but you end up saying something rather unpleasant about piss. This is a pronunciation problem caused by the vowel difference between peace and piss. All right, well, that's what we call a minimal pair, where the two words identical except for one phoneme, in this case, the vowel. Here, you really need to be able to make a distinction in English between these two vowel sounds. It seems that in a lot of other languages, it's much, these two things are just variations of the same, and it doesn't matter. And your learners maybe bring that point of view to English when they're learning English. They think, well, it sounds the same, it doesn't matter. You somehow need to convince them that this matters, and the thing about often doesn't matter. If you're looking for guidance as how to decide what matters, what doesn't matter, minimal pairs are very useful. They tell you that in the target language, this distinction matters because it makes a different word. Yes. People say about minimal pairs that, well, you could guess from the context anyway. You know, probably that's true. Someone's going to a peace meeting, they're probably talking about peace, even if it sounds like piss. That's true enough. But the importance of minimal pairs is not exactly that they're going to confuse these particular two words on any given occasion. It's that they need to distinguish those two phonemes. Generally speaking, the minimal pair is a very good illustration. It's good for teaching because it demonstrates to the students that, oh, there's a difference here. And that's why we're using minimal pairs, not because everyone's going to confuse piss and peace all the time, but because they need to distinguish those, that there are two different phonemes, different sounds here in the target language, which maybe they don't have in their own language. Let me introduce a pair square. A pair square is an activity where there are two minimal pairs in a short phrase. So we have seat on a sheep, sit on a sheep, seat on a ship, and sit on a ship. A, B, C, or D. Right, here's how the game works. I'm going to say one of those, and you have to write in the chat if it's A, B, C, or D. And let's see what happens. Sit on a sheep. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess in an ideal world, what I'm hoping for is that everybody's going to have the same answer. But that's not what happened here. People are getting different answers. So what I can say is I was trying to say B, but maybe I wasn't trying hard enough. Maybe I'm going to have to exaggerate. Maybe even use hand gestures like this. If I say sit, I could use a hand gesture like that for the short vowel sound. Or if I say seat, I could do a kind of stretchy gesture. Sit on a sheep like that. Maybe I could do that. What I need to do is anything which will help both you and me focus on the difference here. With minimal pairs, the secret is to make the difference you need. Just do whatever it takes to get everybody going to the same A, B, C, or D. Make the difference you need. It seems to me that most people are saying B, which is what I intended, but not everybody. I want everybody to go to the same place. So let me try again. Different one this time. Maybe the same one. Seat on a ship. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. The majority of people are going to the same place, which is a miracle of communication. Thank you very much. If I was using this in the classroom, I would be giving you the opportunity to have a go next. In fact, we could do that one time. How about a volunteer saying one? How about a volunteer like Emma from Vietnam? Are you there? Okay, maybe not. Maybe somebody would like to volunteer. How about Thu? Thu Trang from Vietnam.
Okay, let me try. I will try sit on a ship.
How do you feel about that, Thu? Are you happy with that?
Yes, very happy with that. Thank you.
Yes. Oh, good, good. When you're doing minimal pairs, my point of view is that you should try to get rid of the word correct. There is no correct. There is simply this. Either it works or it doesn't work. And nobody is to blame. The combination of speaker and listener, it's a mutual thing. We're working in cooperation. That's what communication's all about. Now, while I'm on this slide, this is what I'm calling a pair square. You can see it's a minimal pair to the power 2. 2 minimal pairs making a set of 4. These pair squares are what I'm giving you as a freebie. I put the freebie in the slides before. I'll just put it up again. It's a PDF. Let me see if I can find it. I put it in the chat before. I'm just going to put it again. It's just loading up there. Anyway, the PDF has the introduction to the Minimal Pair Collection book and a chapter about pair squares. And then I seem to have gone out of focus. I'm just going to switch myself off for a minute. All right, well, it doesn't matter if I'm out of focus, really, does it? Yeah, so the PDF has the pair squares. It has I'm also going to give you a link to a place where you can get 50 of these. And the link has, sorry, the PDF also has an index of them all. Sorry about this. Okay. I'll come back to pair squares a bit later. Here's a mini phonemic chart. We have 6 different vowel phonemes here: beat, bait, bite, bit, bet, bat. Let's just say that this is a small version of a phonemic chart. I'm just restricting it to 6 because I want to make an important point about this, what I think is important anyway. And the important point about the vowel sounds in here, the important thing, if we take an accent-friendly approach, the important thing is not the exact sound. No, the important thing is the difference between them. So it's not important that your students should say this phoneme exactly as you do, or exactly as the Queen does, or some reference personality like that. The important thing is that when they say it, it's different from that, or different from that, or different from that. It's the system that matters. It's the boxes, not the things inside the boxes. And I just want to spend a bit of time on this because it's really important. A lot of teachers believe that these symbols, phonemic symbols, represent a very specific sound. And I'm going to suggest that they don't. They represent something much more vague. You could say that is not that, or not that. It's something which is contrasting with the other things. It's not a specific sound in itself. And since we're on the topic of bait, this sound here, this phoneme, I'm just going to explain what I mean a little bit more. This phoneme can be written using this symbol here, but it could be pronounced in any number of different ways. There are 6 possibilities here in different accents. So for example, here you've got bet, bet, and here you've got bait. And here you've got something more like bite. These are all possible. People, speakers of English, say them in all of these different ways. And so if you're listening to somebody speaking, you could hear this phoneme pronounced in any of these ways. And the thing is, none of them are wrong. None of them are incorrect. That would be totally inappropriate to say to somebody, oh, your accent is incorrect. No, they're all correct. Important thing here is these square brackets. These square brackets indicate that these accent variants, also called allophones, thank you, Manuel. These allophones, these are very specific, and that's what the square bracket means. And then this phoneme with the slashed brackets, this can represent any of these. It just so happens that it coincides with this one, but that's best regarded as just a coincidence. This one is no more valuable than this one or this one. So let's take the word bait. Bait. Bait in my accent is this, bait. But in the north of England, it would be bet. In the further north in England, I'm already in the north of England, I say bait, but in Yorkshire, bet. In London, it might be bite. So there are different ways of saying the same phoneme. This symbol is not a strict sound, as you might imagine. It's a range of sounds. I'm going to show you another pair square now with featuring the difference between bait, bet. Here we have testing pepper, tasting pepper, testing paper, tasting paper, testing paper, tasting paper, tasting paper. Let's try this one. A, B, C, or D? Answers in the chat box, please. Tasting paper. Well, hallelujah, everybody's gone to the same place. And I've gone out of focus again, like a ghost in the machine here. Yes, D is what I intended, so I'm very happy. Now I'll tell you something whilst we're on this. Okay, Mauro has a question. Why is this one easier than the previous one? Have you got Mauro Panicella is asking, why does this one seem easier than the previous one? And I guess, judging from the responses, maybe it is because there is more consensus, although not everybody is saying D. Maybe some people don't think it's easier. Maybe, Mauro, it's that these sound distinctions, some people find this one difficult, other people find another one difficult. That's definitely true. It could be that, as Deden says, maybe I was a bit more careful in my speech. But some people find that difference very difficult to distinguish. So it's one of those things, it depends on your first language a bit, I think. I'm a bit fed up of looking like a ghost all the time. I'll just see if I switch off again. Yeah. Anyway, there's something interesting. I tried an experiment with AI here, with artificial speech recognition, ASR. And I tried doing this with ASR. Your students can do this too. Like take your phone, for example, and you press the little microphone symbol on your phone, and say tasting paper into the phone and see what it writes. It's a good little experiment, a way of practicing, if you like. See if your phone understands you. I tried that a few times and it seemed to work okay. And then I tried it using a different accent, and the phone wasn't able to understand me. It sometimes got the wrong one. For example, if I said tasting pepper with a Yorkshire accent, then it didn't understand my Yorkshire accent. Maybe it's because my Yorkshire accent was rubbish. But what I'm saying is that you can use ASR with these pair squares, artificial speech recognition, and it's a great tool, great for learner independence. But if it doesn't understand what you're saying, if it types out something you didn't intend, it doesn't mean it's your fault. It may be that the people that programmed the speech recognition didn't include enough samples of other accents, and so that the artificial intelligence is not quite as intelligent as you think it is. So yes, by all means use it, but try to ensure that your students do not go into a state of despair if it doesn't understand you. So it's not necessarily your fault. Let me try another game with minimal pairs. Here, we're going to one of these destinations along the top: Rio, Boston, Paris, Oslo, Cairo, Delhi, Beijing, Sydney. According to what I say here, for example, she wants to sail her boat. That's A. If I say A, I'm going that way, west. So if I say she wants to sail her boat, you're going to here. If I say she wants to sell her boat, that's B. That's going east, that way to here. So let's say she wants to sail her boat. That takes us to here. And then the drivers rest on Sundays. Rest, B, east. There we go, east. And then finally, pass the paper, please. Paper A, west. That's west, takes us to Paris. Okay, so let's just try that. You just listen and then type in the name of the city after number 3. Type in the name of the city into the chat box. Number 1, she wants to sell her boat. Number 2, the drivers raced on Sundays. Number 3, pass the pepper, please. Well, everybody's going to Delhi. Not nearly everybody. I intended to go to Delhi. That's where I was heading for myself. So if you've gone to Delhi, you've gone to the same place as me there. Would any volunteer like to try it? Anybody? Everybody's very quiet.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Okay. Rose, yes.
I'm Julia.
Ah,
I'm
Julia.
Julia.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, Julia. Okay.
Can I give it
Okay,
a try?
Julia, you give it a try. Yes.
Okay. So, number 1, she wants to sail her boat. Number 2, the drivers rest on Sundays. Number 3, pass the pepper, please. Yeah, that's right. Oslo. Yeah.
People are going to
Okay,
Oslo,
good work.
and you're happy with that. You're happy with it, yeah. Sounds like you're happy with that. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Good. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. No, thank you. So If you do this with students, you would do it maybe with the teacher saying them first and the class going to one of the places. And then you may be doing it as pair work where one student speaks and the other student listens and follows the route. And students seem to enjoy doing it. You have to explain the rules very carefully right at the beginning. You're going through one of the paths together just to check they understand how it works. And what happens is when the students are doing it in pair work, both of them are cooperating. Neither is wrong or right. The objective is for them to cooperate to reach the same place. And that's why I like this game. It's realistic because that's what we do in real life, in communication. We don't go around saying, "Oh, you're wrong, you're right." We get it's the result that counts. Effectiveness beats correctness. In fact, I'm going to say that instead of my head. Effective beats correct. Effective beats correct. We don't need to talk about correct with these minimal pairs. It has no place in this game. What's the name of this game? Well, in pronunciation games, which was my first book, I called it Pronunciation Journey. So you could call it Pronunciation Journey, if you like. Or you could call it John. Okay, I'd like to move on to a different kind of minimal pair altogether. A very different kind of minimal pair. And I'll illustrate it with this pair square. Here we have Pad is riding, Pad is writing, Pat is riding, Pat is writing. It's interesting. If you use text to speech, for example, if you're working in Microsoft Word and you press to hear it, if you write those 4 sentences down in Microsoft Word and then press at the top, say it aloud, read aloud, then Microsoft Words will speak the sentences. And guess what? You probably won't be able to hear any difference. They'll probably all sound exactly the same. A, B, C, and D, identical. Why? Okay, Mathieu says it's to do with the American tap and flap. Yes, and I think that's about nail on the head. The double D and the double T are going to sound the same in some accents. In some accents. Typically, American accents, those two would sound the same. Pat is riding would sound like all of them, A, B, C, and D. It seems that the T, when it comes between vowels like this, is kind of softened in some accents so that it sounds like a D. That means that A, B, and C and D are all the same in some accents. In my personal accent, however, they are different. If I say Paddy's writing, you can probably identify it as B. Yes, James, you would say it the same as me, I think. So in my accent, they are all different. So what's going on here is that this pair square is a trick. It's designed to show a difference between accents. And if your students do not make the difference between these, it doesn't mean they're wrong. It's not a problem. In some accents, there's no difference between these. But that is also something that is worth knowing. Learners need to find out what they do need to distinguish and what they don't. And this is an example of something that they don't. It's an accent variation. That's why in the PDF that I gave you, if you go to the index of pair squares, pair square PS, pair square 15 is this T and the D in the middle of a word. And I've put in brackets here, accent test. This means that these 4 phrases, they're not intended as something that your students must distinguish. It depends on accent. So these minimal pairs are for raising awareness of accent variations. Pair square 14, by contrast, is not an accent test. This is just a normal minimal pair. You want them to distinguish all of these. So I just wanted to point that out, because if you're using these pair squares, check the index here. If it says accent test, then it means that your students are not intended to have to make this difference. It's awareness raising. Okay, so I'm reaching a point where I want to make some more general points here. I've been looking a little bit on how to work with minimal pairs and what minimal pairs are, but I want to make a more general point, which is this. The accent-friendly approach to pronunciation teaching that I'm talking about here is different from traditional approach. A traditional approach is symmetrical, where you have standard pronunciation, standard understanding. So the productive skill mirrors the receptive skill. Let's say that you're teaching, for example, to an RP model, then you expect all of the students to speak with RP and to understand people who are speaking with RP. This is the symmetrical fantasy that we lived in when we used to teach pronunciation this way. And many of us still do. It's a fantasy, the idea, the dream that everybody will speak the same way. I'm saying that with, an accent-friendly approach is asymmetrical. Everybody speaks with their own local pronunciation. For example, it could be Vietnamese accented English. But they must understand other accents apart from their own. Their receptive capacity is bigger than their productive capacity. This, I think, is an inevitable consequence of taking a more flexible approach to accent. It means that your students don't need to worry so much about their own speech matching any particular celebrity from the English-speaking world, for example. They can if they want, but they don't have to. But they do need to understand a range of accents, and not only the standard RP or General American, but all kinds of different English accents. In particular, the ones that they're most likely to encounter, which is going to depend on the kind of work they do, the place they live, and whatever. I could put that into a slogan. Let me replace my head with a slogan. Here we go. Speak locally, hear globally. Yes. So what I'm trying to get at today is how we should try to move away from a fixation with a very specific target model. And because it's not realistic, it doesn't match, it's not adequate for English in the world today, which is a global lingua franca. And we need to distinguish between things which matter and things which don't. So, for example, it's not always easy to tell. If you look at the index of pair squares that I showed you, the ones which say accent test in brackets, these are the ones which don't matter. And the other ones that don't have accent test, those are the ones that matter. In terms of it matters that your learners distinguish between some of them, but not with the accent test ones. Those ones, it doesn't matter. That's some guidance for you. How did I know? Well, first of all, I studied accent variation, and I got a great deal of guidance from Jennifer Jenkins, which is The Phonology of English as an International Language. This book from the year 2000, from Oxford. I think you could say that's a groundbreaking book because she pointed out that in the context of a world where English is a global lingua franca, it really doesn't make sense to insist on specific accents. And so she says, she does actually go into some of the things that don't matter. And some of them are quite surprising. One of them was the TH sounds, for example, as in think. Some people might pronounce it think or tink, these different ways. And a lot of teachers are very insistent that their students don't do this. And yet, it seems, according to Jennifer Jenkins' research, that intelligibility is not problematic. If a student says think, they're going to be understood. The book was The Phonology of English as an International Language. So in the pair squares that I gave you, I have put accent test around the ones which work on the tink think distinction, for example. And that's the reason. Which brings me on to this. Let's say that this is a staff room scenario. We have the man teacher here saying, I can't stand it when students say think instead of think. And the teacher, she has a mug in front of here. Look at this mug, very similar to my mug here. Look, accent friendly teacher. Drink to that. What's the accent friendly teacher's response? Put it in the chat box, please. It doesn't matter. Okay. I like that one, Julia. I think it doesn't matter. That's going to annoy the guy, isn't it? That's really going to rile the guy. Joshua Gordon wants the mug. Well, where can you get the mug? I just went to a shop where they print mugs. Just for this talk, would you believe? Because I knew I'd want to show you that mug. Okay, thank you for your suggestions, everybody. And with that, I'm going to ask anybody, have you got any questions, comments and questions? Feel free to put your camera on mute. Let's see if you've got anything you'd like to say.
Q&A time. So just unmute yourselves or perhaps write your questions in the chat if for some reason you're not able to speak, and then I'll pass her question over to Mark. Carolyn is asking, would you say it's important to teach the ED sounds such as in lived, worked? Same concept.
Well, Carolina, I think I would say it is important. I think it's very important because you would like the listener to understand that you're talking about the past and not the present, for example. That's important. It makes a difference.
Maciej just raised their hand, so feel free to unmute yourself and then.
Hello. First of all, thank you very much indeed for having me here. It's a great honor and privilege to be listening to you. First, a little remark, namely, it's difficult to find minimal pairs with a schwa sound. But the schwa sound is, after all, really important. So this is perhaps just a tiny little inconvenience when it comes to minimal pairs. And my actual question is, have you got any, or have you included any opportunities to study suprasegmental features like minimal pairs at the level of sentences, like sentence stress, intonation, and so on? Thank you.
Yes, thank you. How do you pronounce your name? Maciej? Maciej?
It's actually Maciej. With a
Maciej.
ch, as in church, but you make it more palatalized.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Maciej. Yeah. Now, the reason why there are no minimal pairs for the schwa is interesting. It might mean that they're not important. You're saying that they're important, but consider this. What would happen if a speaker didn't use a schwa where you might expect it? How bad would it be? Let's take a word like about. The first sound in about in my accent is the schwa. But what if I didn't say the schwa? What if I said about? About. How bad would that be in terms of intelligibility? I would say that not a problem. And indeed, there are accents of English where the schwa is much less used than in mine. For example, in West African English, the schwa is not so common. So I think we might ask ourselves, if there's no minimal pairs, there's a reason for that. The schwa is effectively a variation of something else. In the example I gave, about. In that case, the schwa is an optional variant of the an allophone, if you like. And some linguists have thought of it as being an allophone. I think the importance of schwa, I agree with you, it has importance, but it has a different kind of importance. It's important when you're listening to other people whose accent includes a lot of schwa, like most native speakers of North America or UK, for example. Their speech will have a lot of schwa in it. So as a listener, then it's very important for them for learners to be able to cope with that. But maybe in terms of their own speech, it's not quite as crucial as that. So yeah, I think it has a different kind of importance, put it that way. And the same would go for features of connected speech. You mentioned connected speech. One of my previous books in this series was about connected speech. It's something that I'm very interested in as it happens. But I do think features of connected speech are similar to the schwa. They are optional in terms of your students speaking. They need to understand connected speech more because of listening than because of speaking. If they say every single word completely separately, they're probably still going to be intelligible. So for intelligibility, not absolutely crucial, I would say. So thank you for that question.
We have,
Mauro, oh yeah.
just before we go to Mauro, let's go to Juliana's question. She asked, what can we do when emphasizing the pronunciation during a minimal pair game and students still don't get it?
That happens a lot, doesn't it?
Happened here.
What happens when students, where you can't get the idea across? Well, let me suggest that you take the lesser prize. The consolation prize is this, that at least they know there's an issue here. Right, let's say, for example, seat on a ship, sit on a ship, seat on a sheep, etc. Let's say that no matter how many times you do it, you still can't get to the right answer, or the same answer. Not right, the same answer. Yeah, if that happens, and it probably will happen sometimes, what the student gains is an awareness that there is a potential issue here, so that when they're next using words that have this sound in them, and they find that there's a misunderstanding happening, they'll go, oh, it's what the teacher was saying about the ship thing. And then they can repair the conversation accordingly. So Yeah, thank you for that question, because I think it's really important to understand that you're not always going to end the class with a high of everybody succeeding. That's not going to happen. But it's not a complete loss, even so, because they still understand that there is a hot topic here that they might not have been aware of before, but now they're aware of it. So yes, thank you.
Yeah, so just like we have other systems that we work in class, we don't expect all learners to use the present perfect wonderfully, just like the first time we teach them. So shouldn't be the same with pronunciation. Mauro, question.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to clarify something because for what I've known of the English as a lingua franca corpus, and related to what you were saying about the difference of the t and d sound not being so important for pronunciation, for production, I thought that as part of the corpus was to clarify consonants for speaking. Isn't that difference particularly interesting or relevant for teaching for international pronunciation, or do you say that it's just for receptive purposes?
Let me see. I think if we're talking about intelligibility, then we have to distinguish between phoneme distinctions which have an impact and ones that don't in terms of intelligibility. And as regards consonants, generally speaking, you want your students to be able to distinguish as many as possible. But it's worth looking to accents here. If there are accents of English that do not have the th sound, like, for example, London. In London, a lot of people replace the th with an f, as in think. And they go through their entire life speaking that way. And yet they survive. What does that tell you? It tells you that somehow it's possible to communicate without the th sound. So when Jennifer Jenkins suggests that the th sound is not critical for intelligibility, to begin with, that sounds surprising. But when you consider that in London, many London accents, they don't make that distinction, then you have to consider that, well, that's a viable way of speaking. It's viable. And in Ireland, for example, they might say tink instead of think, and that's another viable way of saying it. It's viable in the sense that people in Ireland get through their entire life saying it that way, and it's not a problem. Yeah. So we have to focus on things that create difficulties of intelligibility. And a good place to look is accents. If an accent doesn't have a distinction, it probably means you don't need it.
Carolina, you have a question.
Yes. Thank you so much, Mark. Actually, I've used your book when I was studying English, so it's been like a dream, to join one of your sessions. Thank you so much. And my question was, it was actually about the past tense for regular verbs, meaning that although if I say I live it in Baltimore, or I lived in Baltimore, it's kind of the same. But
yes,
if I hear live it, you can still understand me. And some students, they think it's like, it doesn't matter if I say leave it or lift. And I just want
Okay.
to know your opinion about that. Thanks.
My opinion is that it matters because live it sounds like two words. Live it. Live it.
Okay. Yeah.
So there's a potential for confusion. That extra syllable sounds like another word. And okay, you may be able to distinguish in the context in one particular occasion, but maybe not on another occasion. So yeah, the thing about these pronunciation features like that is oftentimes you can get away with it, but other times not. It's like pixels on a digital photograph. You can get away with losing a few pixels. You can get away with losing quite a lot. But at some point, if you lose too many, the whole picture is just a kind of fog and you can't see anything. Well, that's the way that it goes with pronunciation. Every individual pronunciation feature missing just makes the picture a little bit less clear. And if you put lots of these problems together, you end up with complete fog and no clarity at all. So we as teachers, I guess what we're trying to do is tackle all of these little problems one by one, even though none of them are totally crucial in themselves. Together they become problematic. So we have to deal with these problems in detail. Yeah.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for your question, Carolina. Yeah.
James also has a question. Go ahead, James.
Thank you very much, Mark. I'm all in favour of making life easy for teachers. And in the chat box, I've just written the words jumped, robbed and wanted. And I always used to be amazed by some pronunciation books, not yours, I don't think, Mark, insisting that there was a difference between the first two, because jump finishes in a voiceless sound and robbed finishes in a voice sound. I completely agree with you about the third in that list, wanted, because you really do have to emphasize the final syllable, wanted. And with the first two, if a learner says jumped or robbed, then yes, we kind of do want to do something about that. But what I tend to say to my learners these days is that with the first two, whether they say jumped with a t sound at the end or a d sound doesn't really matter very much. And robbed, if they say robbed with a t sound or a d sound, again, please don't worry too much about that. What you do need to worry about is verbs, infinitives that finish in a t or a d, because there'll be an extra syllable.
Yeah, that's
Does
a
that-
good
Does that make
that's a
sense?
good point. Yeah, I think what you're indicating, James, is a hierarchy of importance. The importance of distinguishing wanted, the extra syllable, that's more important than distinguishing the ed ending in jumped and robbed. I wouldn't say the difference in jumped and robbed is completely zero. There is some importance, especially if the following word begins with a vowel. Let's say we had the word away, jumped away, robbed away. The t of jumped really comes out by joining. It joins the next word, jumped away, and then robbed away. Then it becomes more salient and can become distracting in that context. So generally speaking, I agree that that difference is not very important, but it does have some importance. So I would start with the wanted example with maybe elementary, and then maybe leave the other difference to more intermediate. Yes.
I don't know if anyone here.
Well, Dadele
Yeah.
has a question about word stress, which is I haven't spoken about that at all today. Word stress, is it important? Going to Jennifer Jenkins again, she says that word stress is probably not important, which is slightly unsatisfactory to say the least. Probably. What am I going to do with probably? I think I would teach word stress as part of teaching vocabulary, I guess. And when you're teaching a word, teach word stress. And I think the most important thing about it is the fact that unstressed syllables, if students are not aware about the extent to which speakers sometimes reduce the unstressed syllables, then they can be really thrown when it comes to listening. It's very surprising to some students that the extent to which a syllable can almost disappear. So I think the importance of word stress, for me, the most important thing about it is unstressed, raising awareness of unstressed syllables, especially for listening.
Do we have any other questions?
No more questions. Okay, I have a question. Have you got a good way of doing a raffle?
Yes, I have the names here that I could not copy and paste from the participants list, but I managed to write them. So everyone, let me know if you can see your name here. Well, actually, let me know if you cannot see your name here in this list. So I'm going to scroll down. Okay, so first thing I actually need to do is to put one after one, because like skip a line here. Because for some reason when I pasted all, but then it's easier for you to check out your names.
Yeah, so what we're doing here is we're trying to organize a raffle for the ebook of the Minimal Pair Collection. And Taylor is trying to put your names onto this colorful wheel here. So please don't abandon the room anytime soon.
But Mark, where can we get the book if we are not a lucky winner tonight?
Well, for the actual print book, Amazon is the main place to go. If you're in the UK, you can get it direct from me or from the BBC, but that's only in the UK. Amazon prints it on demand wherever they have a print shop, and they don't have a print shop in every country, unfortunately. So if you're, for example, in Argentina, Amazon don't print in Argentina. In that case, you would have to get it from Amazon United States, for example, and then it would have to be shipped. So that's a bit slow, I understand. Then there's the ebook. Ebooks are available off Apple Books if you have Apple machine, or from Kobo if you have other kinds of machines. other than Amazon, another source apart from Amazon would be BEBC, Bournemouth English Books, and they will post it to France for you if you want. I think they can post it. They claim they can post it everywhere in the world. I'm not sure if that's possible, but
Yeah, so we are almost there. And honestly, I mean, I love books. I'm a teacher, right? So I love books. I love like grabbing a book and the smell of a new book. But nowadays, so many of us teach online. And I think something wonderful about the digital version is that it's just so easy, because you just share your screen with your learners, just like we're doing here now. And it's just super convenient. And if you need to print it out and like work with the handouts and activities in class, you can still do that. So I don't know, I'm a big fan of the digital versions. I cannot see the
This-
chat right now. So if you have
this wheel is getting very exciting here. There's a lot of names.
a lot of names, some people unfortunately have left or maybe got disconnected. We never know. But
Oh, well, I guess if their name's on here, they're going. We can contact them
yeah,
anyway. Yeah.
but we are almost there. I see that some of you have raised your hands because you have questions. Please feel free to unmute yourselves and just ask away.
I will take the chance while T is organized the wheel and ask Mark a question, if I may.
Mhm.
So, Mark, you were saying, thank you very much for answering my question about what can we do if the students don't get the exercise and etc. Thank you very much. And you were saying, I was taking notes and I miss it. You were saying that you were answering somebody else's question, and you said something that if it's not something, I will say useful, but it's not the word that you said, you can drop it. I don't know if you remember what it was, but if you don't mind elaborating more on that, it was.
Okay. Well, I'll go back to the example that Mauro asked about, which was the TH sounds. I'll go back to that example. I was, and thank you for your question. As regards the TH sounds, as in think, Jennifer Jenkins suggests that it doesn't cause misunderstanding. It's not a problem for intelligibility. So your question, Juliana, is maybe this. So what do we do about it? And my response is that what I would do, I think, with the TH sound is I wouldn't not teach it. I would teach it, but accept. I would accept it if the students didn't take it on, didn't bring it into their own typical English. If they kind of don't do it, I wouldn't insist. Yeah. So you aim for it, but you can settle for something else.
Thank you very much.
If something is not important for intelligibility, you can say, well, try saying it this way. But you can say it that way if you want. Try to say it. Try doing this. You might enjoy saying it like this. Think. Try it. See it. You might enjoy it. But if the student really doesn't want to do it or can't do it, you don't need to spend a lot of time on these things if they don't matter for intelligibility. If it matters for intelligibility, then you need to tell the students, no, you can't. You have to be careful with that because you might be misunderstood. Then you have to insist.
Thank you very much. I think it comes down to the metaphor of the tree. You said the proverb in the beginning. We have to be flexible in some ways.
Yeah, the flexibility is about accepting things which don't matter. If it doesn't matter, if if it doesn't matter that the students say tink instead of think, if it doesn't matter, then you don't need to spend a lot of time worrying about it. There's plenty of other things you can worry about. Let's pick your battles. How are we doing, Taylor? Is that done?
Yes, that is done, unless someone else has something that they would like to comment. But I think everything here has been fixed. Are we
Okay.
ready?
So I guess we had we did think there were a lot of people signed up for this, so we thought we might have to run a second session. But as it happens, the room is not full today, so we don't need to run the second session. That means we can have 2 prizes in this room. 2 prizes, so we can have 2 raffles here. Let's go.
Okay, so what we could do is,
I think we're missing. Are we missing one name?
Are we?
Missing Tran Thu Phuong.
Sorry.
I think we might be missing one name there.
Actually, sorry. Let me just. This should not be together. It's fixed now.
Okay.
Alejandro. Where is Alejandro? Okay. So I think just this one to fix, and I think we're good. I'm just going to scroll down really quick. So if you cannot see like your name properly, just let me know. And so Mark, I was thinking what we could do is if the person for some reason is not here anymore or has had to leave, maybe we could start again until someone who is actually here. That's it. What do you think?
All right. So we'll restrict it to people who are still in the room then.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Let's do that.
I think that will be cool.
Fair enough.
Who is also kind of weird? Like, what do you mean by weird? Where is exactly? Where are you? Oh, here you are. Found you.
Yeah.
Is that you? All right.
Okay.
So, time for us to get a lucky winner. Are you ready?
Let's go.
Let's go. Okay.
Okay, so we have Trang
is here.
Tri Phuong.
Trang is here. Congrats. And so let me remove.
So yes, we have one winner.
And now the second one. Yeah, so close. There we go. Olga, but is Olga still here? Olga L.
Is Olga L here?
I'm not really sure.
Olga L, can you put something in the chat box if you're still here?
Yes, if you're not here. Jelena says, I hope not. So
She's not.
She's not here.
No, I looked it.
Okay, so let's just remove Olga. I'm so sorry, Olga. If you're watching the recording, you can still buy the book. There we go again. Melissa. Is Melissa still here though? I'm not so sure. Yes. I love how fast you were. Like, yes, Maud is so close. So
Okay, so
interesting.
Melissa Prado and Trang Tri Phuong are the winners today. I'll send you an email to see which one you want, either Apple Books or Kobo Books. And thank you for coming today, everybody.
Thank you for coming, everybody.
A joy
We
to
hope you have
meet you all.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you very much, Mark.
Thank you.
Thank you, Taylor
Thank
and
you.
Mark.
Thank you
Bye
very
bye,
much.
everyone.
Bye. Take care.
Oh, there will be a video, by the way. So you can see it again on the Phonpack YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Bye.